tonight. So the arbitration window is officially open, and the Islanders do have one person who filed for arbitration, and Maxim Tsyplakov. So a little bit of, I think we need to do a little context first, right? Like just because he filed for arbitration doesn't necessarily mean we'll get to the point where there is a meeting between Maxim Tsyplakov and the Islanders and an arbiter. Usually this happens and then a contract will come, right? It's very rare, I feel like, that you actually get to the arbitration meeting. But I guess just where are you at with Maxim Tsyplakov, and what are we thinking contract or money wise for this thing?
Yeah, right. That's kind of where we got to be. And you're right to just start it off by, like, these things typically don't go to arbitration. Neither side wants this, specifically now for the Islanders. Like, Sippy wants his contract, sure, but the team doesn't want to go in there with the new GM being like, this guy is shit, and here are all the reasons why he's shit, and we don't want to pay him because he's a shitty player. They don't want to get into that. Neither side wants that, right? And so they want to avoid that at all costs. So it's, well, you haven't come to a consensus now, but what this, I guess, basically does is the league, in a way, in fact, imposes an ultimatum. Like, you have to have it resolved by then, or else we're going to get it done for you. So that's kind of where we're running to, and that kind of forces teams and agents to come together to get this squared off before it gets to that. So we're looking at a 35-point player who just made the jump to the NHL, had a really good start to the year and kind of tailed off. As he himself said, the conditioning maybe wasn't there for the rigors of what he played a 77-game season, because he missed a couple, maybe one or two with injury, and then he missed a couple due to suspension, right? The headshot that he took on, I forget who, but not that it
Someone on
matters.
Philly, right? I think it was
Yeah,
Philly.
whatever.
I don't remember who it was either. It doesn't matter at this point.
Anyway, yeah. What is a 35-point player worth to you? I'm going to frame it basically like Mike Bossy to my Bill Torrey. What is a 35-point player worth to you? Although Bossy said, what is a 50-goal plus scorer worth to you? But anyways,
A little different.
what is that worth?
Slightly different. In today's world, Mike Bossy's probably getting a $13 million a year contract. I don't think Maxim Tsyplakov's getting $13 a year.
Send it to arbitration.
Yeah, I think based off some of the contracts that have signed, my guess is like 2 years at a little over $3 million a year. Something like that.
Yeah, ideally we'd be somewhere around, like, not somewhere. Ideally he gets basically what Simon Holmstrom got. Well, maybe not exactly. Simon got 3,625 there, but it's got to be less, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I've referenced this in the past with different during free agency and like the lead up, the AFP analytics and their contract projections. So they have him honestly higher than what I expected, and I don't think he gets to that.
No.
At 3 years and a $4.6 million cap hit, that would be pretty surprising if it got up that high. Like I said, I think it would be a touch over 3 million. I don't know if it gets up to where Simon Holmstrom was at 3.6 for him?
3,625, yeah, for Simon. I guess we always go back to, like, you're getting $1 million for 10 points, right? And so, like, 3.5, 35 points is $3.5 million is what we're looking at. And you have to factor inflation into blah, blah, blah. So maybe, I'm talking myself right into Simon Holmstrom territory at 3,625, which is 3.8% of the cap. Not a whole lot. You're right that AFP's got him at $6 million over 3 years. That seems rich to me, but only based off what he's done. I think we also have to look at what can he do. Can he be better than a 35-point player?
I think potentially yes, but what I was going to flip back to you, Mitch, and maybe this is what we get into, is what line is he going to play on this year? And because that is going to have a drastic impact in the number of points he puts up. Looking at the 77 forwards the Islanders currently have under contract, at best third line, maybe fourth line for Maxim Tsyplakov this year. Are you going to get a 40-plus points from a guy on the fourth line? I know they're going to play a little bit differently, and it's not going to be like Matt Martin, Kyle and Casey Cizikas there, but ice time and line mates certainly play a factor for a guy like Maxim Tsyplakov, right?
Yeah, you're right. Deployment is going to be a thing for him. He put up 35 points, averaging, what was it, just over 14 minutes a game, 14 and a half minutes, I think, last year. 14:38 sits in my brain right now.
Let's see. I'll pull it up. 14:58.
Oh, so 15 minutes of ice time. So you're looking at, third to second line-ish minutes on average. Is that going to be the case going forward next year? It's possible, right? When you're thinking of a first line of maybe Lee, Horvat, Drouin, then you got Holmstrom, Barzal, and maybe you want to put Tsyplakov there for size, right? Maybe. And that would do wonders for him if you put him on a line with Barzal and Holmstrom. But does he get that chance? And do you put Shabanov on the third line? Just as we're talking now, like obviously we don't know what's actually going to happen, but like if we're projecting what we think these players can do, Shabanov isn't coming over so he can play third line minutes or second line minutes. It's we want to put you in the top six, and that's what allows him, or not allows him, but that's what gives him the confidence to sign here. Assuming he can still do it, I would imagine he can. So like then you're going, well, if you're putting Shabanov up there, then obviously then that takes Tsyplakov out of the running.
I think it definitely does. I would be surprised if he's on anything above the third line, and I'm not saying that if circumstances were different that he couldn't get a shot to play on a second line, right? Like maybe on last year's Islanders team. But it's different. I also don't think he's going to shoot at 8.6% again like he did this past year. I think he's someone who has a little bit more scoring and isn't going to be a 10-goal guy and could be a 15 to 20 goal a season guy, even if he is playing, let's call it third line minutes to split the difference. I have a really hard time seeing a spot where he's moving up in the lineup to have that production that's going to yield a over $4 million cap hit.
Yeah. And so that kind of plays a factor. Absolutely. Because not only does the team think of like, well, where you're going to sit, it's they think about where you're going to sit because of what you can possibly do. And so if they're not saying we're penciling you in for second line minutes, well, we're not penciling you in for higher than, let's say, $1 million for each 10 points you're going to give us. So you're going to be at best, and we're rounding up here by a lot, but you're at best a $4 million player. And even then, I think that's kind of pushing things.